Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 mini series with the Los Angeles Angels. And we're about to begin the 2029 season. High expectations from ownership. Expect us to be back in the playoffs and winning a championship in the next couple of years as we likely near the end of this mini series. We have won the American League West each of the last two seasons, but quickly flamed out in the playoffs both years, losing the divisional series. Last year, we were swept out of the divisional series by our division rival, Texas Rangers, who were a wild card. And in the preseason predictions we looked at in the last episode, the Rangers were expected to edge us out in the division this year, winning 95 games to our 91. So we are expected to be back in the playoffs, but hopefully we can outperform the 91 wins that we are projected to have and get closer to triple digits again this year. Have made a couple of minor changes since we talked at the end of our last episode, really just tweaking the lineups, particularly our lineup against left-handed pitching. We have not changed any of the players who are going to be our starters, but we did drop Andres Rodriguez down in the lineup against lefties pretty significantly. He's a guy who, although he had an outstanding rookie season, winning Rookie of the Year, still has a pretty dramatic difference between his splits against lefties and righties, so just not quite as effective against left-handed pitching yet. Sean Gamble, the youngster who's going to be making his major league, actually not his major league debut, but his full-time major league player debut this year after having 21 at-bats at the end of last season, is in a similar situation. Still think he's got some development ahead of him, so we want to play him every day, but he is not a particularly accomplished hitter against left-handed pitching at this time. So we're going to play him every day for the time being, but given that he's going to be in the right lineup against righties, it's not inconceivable if we find ourselves struggling against lefties that we make a change. In recent years, we've typically started the season with the good third baseman Addison Barger only in the lineup against righties and not against lefties, but when we've had other left-handed hitters who have struggled a bit against left-handed pitching, we've ended up given Barger more playing time as the season moved along, and that's something very conceivable we could do if Gamble really struggles against left-handed pitching. But for the time being, we're going to try to give the 22-year-old as many at-bats as possible to continue to hopefully jumpstart his development. Always get interesting suggestions from the Worldwide Scouting Department. One I wanted to briefly mention since the last episode came from Crow Hop, who did suggest that our new catcher, Min Jae Kim, who we think can be a excellent bat against right-handed pitching, but despite some improvement in the development lab, is our weakest defensive catcher. Crow Hop suggested potentially moving him into a DH role down the line. That would allow more playing time for Juan Flores, who right now is just starting for us at catcher against left-handed pitching, and it would also let us potentially bring Drake Baldwin back from AAA. Both Baldwin and Flores are better defensively than Kim is, despite his recent improvements. So that is definitely something, if we have some injuries going forward or some issues with our defense at catching, if our pitching staff isn't doing as well as we think, and we can kind of tie it back to Kim's catcher ERA being materially higher than Flores. That's an interesting suggestion from Crow Hop that we'll definitely continue to think about going forward. But at this point, I want to see how this team that we've put together and the lineups we've put together do in the early stages of this season. Got 3 games at home against Washington to get things going. And then you can see the schedule here in the month of April, where we'll get some of our first divisional games at Houston and home against the Athletics. And we did get the season off to a great start with 3 pretty easy victories against Washington, 8-0, 9-2, and 9-5 at home. So in the extremely early stage of this season. We're back in first place in the AL West, and you can see a lot of offense those first couple days. Andres Rodriguez leading the league with homers. Min-Jae Kim off to a good start. Wakabayashi off to a good start. Anthony Skull tied for the league lead in steals. Rodriguez and Wakabayashi continue being around the leaderboards. No one on the pitching side right at the top, but the two new additions, Min-Jae Kim and Yoshihiko Wakabayashi, the big international free agent acquisitions, off to hot starts, along with last year's Rookie of the Year, Andres Rodriguez, and Anthony Skull, who made our team as a reserve outfielder who's actually going to be, for the time being, our starting DH against right-handed pitching out of spring training. And one thing we did since the last episode before the season really got underway was cut back scouting and player development just a bit from where they were a year ago. Still really big budgets, obviously, but we wanted to have money available given that we are a win-now team. If you remember, we started last year with 86 fan interest, and it's plummeted 21 points to 65 this year, which, again, given that we were a division-winning playoff team a year ago that led the league with 102 victories. Little disappointing that fan interest has taken such a hit, and you can see our season ticket sales and our likely attendance per game are down significantly from where they were a year ago, which is definitely disappointing for a team that's off to a really good start and in a big market and did pretty well a year ago. Don't really necessarily want to cut ticket prices back quite yet. My hope is that this team is going to be playing very well in the early stages of the season, and that will ultimately get the fans back more excited, but dealing with a pretty significant hit to fan interest compared to where we were just a season ago. And we've split the first two games of the series against Arizona. Unfortunately, an injury has popped up here. Jake Riley, the toy cannon, the rookie pitcher with a rotator cuff strain, certainly not something we want to see. Actually pitched really well in his first game of the year, just 2 hits over 6 innings, earned the W today against Arizona, but went just 68 pitches in those 6 innings before the rotator cuff strain. We're going to be conservative with the youngster, throw him onto the IL, but certainly we think his injury proneness is normal, but anytime pitchers start having rotator cuff strains, that could be a sign of more significant things to come. Hopefully with 2 or 3 weeks off, it won't become a more significant issue for us. And with the injury to Mr. Riley, George Klassen is going to slide from a long relief role into our number 5 starter role, and Brock Selvage will be back in the majors as a long reliever. He had a pretty solid season for us a year ago, so a testament to our depth that a guy who had a 3.16 ERA over 57 innings pitched in the majors started this year in AAA. Don't necessarily think the pitching staff is incredible here, but we were one of the better pitching staffs in the American League last year, and Riley was one of the 2 key additions coming out of our minor league system. Carlos Espinoza, who we picked up in a trade with the Yankees, was the other important addition. Besides that, it's all pretty familiar names, so we're still expecting the pitching to be pretty good this year, given that it's close to 90% the same guys, and they were pretty effective last season. And unfortunately, the month of April not going as well as our good start with that 5-6 start on the first homestand of the season in March and early April. Since then, we've won only 2 games, and we've lost 6 out of 7 at this point, swept by the Astros and lost 2 out of 3 to the Athletics in our games against division rivals. So midway through the month, we've slipped below 500, 7-8 record, 3.5 behind the Rangers. Andres Rodriguez still tied for the league lead in home runs with 6, but he's the only member of the Angels franchise on the leaderboard or near the top of the leaderboards at this early stage of the season. And the draft pool is out. We're going to spend some time starting to scout up some of the higher rated prospects out there, both as far as pitchers and position players, and hopefully over time we will broaden the scope out to more of the players. As you'll remember, if you've been following us closely, we do have a extra pick this year. Taking a look at the draft order, we've got our normal pick, which will be the 34th and final pick of the first round by virtue of having had the best regular season last year. But we also will have a supplemental first round pick, 4 picks away from the prospect promotion incentive driven by Andres Rodriguez being the rookie of the year last year. So should be positive to have 2 out of 5 picks when we get towards the end of the first round. Just looking for another little glitch in the game, though, at this point. And you can see the 34th pick overall. Our slot projection is just $3 million, but for some reason the supplemental picks are much higher than that, which doesn't make sense to me. So seems like another one of those little things that hopefully the developers and the good folks at OOTP will get figured out in the not too distant future. It's also conceivable that because I started this game on the original game that came out about a month ago, that this is something that's already been fixed in a patch if you start a new game. But just happened to notice that right now, so figured I'd put it out there, because definitely would be odd to have a slot of $7.8 million 4 picks after we had a guy whose slot was just $3 million. And just for the record, it does seem like that's something that's only displayed improperly, because our recommended draft slot amounts are more accurate. I believe at $8.42 million, you can see we've set aside a little more than that in the draft budget, so it seems like just another display thing. I don't know exactly what the developers and programmers had to go through in terms of adding in and enhancing the draft this year with the draft combine, but it does seem like there's a few display things as far as the draft and the combine this year that are a little bit off. I'm sure they'll get fixed in due time. Take a quick look while we're here. Only a couple weeks into the season, but Min Jae Kim, the new catcher, hitting just $163. New left fielder Emmanuel Rodriguez hitting just $205. Kyle Tucker also batting just $180. And despite the good power numbers, Andres Rodriguez hitting just $216. A couple of positive notes, though. Skull hitting .333 for us. The newcomer Wakabayashi hitting close to .300. And the youngster Sean Gamble hitting .360 for us as our leadoff hitter against right-handed pitching. And Jake Riley ready to come back. That'll be good, because Klassen has not done particularly well in the rotation. I think we will let him at least reclaim his long relief role, even though Selvage has done pretty well this year in limited action in that mop-up role. But Klassen was doing fine in that role as well, so we will put Mr. Selvage back down to AAA for the time being. Fortunately, Riley will be back, which hopefully will help. Wakabayashi has been banged up with a bruised thigh over the last few days, so we've had him on the bench, just resting him. I don't want to push things, but you can see the record continues to spiral, falling to 8-11. So hopefully with Riley returning and Wakabayashi being hopefully healthy tomorrow, hopefully the last week and a half of April we can play a lot better than we have over these past couple of weeks. And after that pretty miserable middle of April for us, when at one point we lost 9 out of 10 games. Did play better over the final couple of weeks of the month of April, so we've pulled the record back to 14-14. Certainly not where we would hope to be at this point, but with a 7-3 record in our last 10 games, definitely playing better. Speaking of playing better, Kyle Tucker has the average up to 261 and is now leading the AL with 25 ribbies. Andres Rodriguez also hitting 261, 8 home runs. Unfortunately, he's got blurred vision. Going to have a minimal impact on him overall, but a moderate impact on his hitting for the next week. So we're either going to put him on the bench or maybe put him on the IL. I think we've got enough depth and enough good players that we can probably just sit him for this rest of the week until hopefully that blurred vision clears up. But definitely not what you want to hear for your franchise center fielder. Take a first look for this season at the team statistics. And at 14-14, seems like we've gotten a bit unlucky. Pythagorean record suggests we should be 17-11. Respectable offense, 6th in the American League in runs scored. Not as good as we were a year ago. The slugging percentage ranking 11th. Hits and extra base hits also pretty weak. We are drawing more walks than anybody in the league and striking out less than anybody in the league. Middle of the pack in steals, although we're a very efficient base running team. Love seeing the really good defense, 2nd in defensive efficiency and 2nd in zone rating. And the pitching's also been well above average, 4th in the American League in runs allowed, other than starters, ERA, and home runs allowed. We're in the top handful of most of the other primary pitching categories. So can't complain too much about how things are going. Certainly the offense and the pitching were both ranked higher a year ago. Our hope is that we'll improve on this 6th ranked offense and 4th ranked pitching staff over the next month or so. And with the very average start to the season, though, attendance has been struggling. You can see we're set to make almost $500,000 a game, less than a year ago in terms of revenue. Attendance down by almost 12,000. So right now we are expected to deliver a massive loss on the season, given that we've got this big budget and big player payroll. The hope is that as the team plays better, we'll get more and more people into the seats. But you can see minus 28.3% in terms of our revenue. If we were to lower those ticket prices to $32, that just exacerbates the revenue per game at this point. So I think we kind of keep the higher ticket prices for the time being and hope that this team can snap out of it, start playing a lot better in May into the summer, and get more fans in the seats as we're a more competitive team, hopefully fighting for the division and hopefully battling again for the best record in all of baseball. And the first half of May going a bit better than April did for us. We've run the record to 21-18, only 2 games out in the division at this point, although we are still in 3rd place since the Astros and the Rangers are tied for the division lead. Rodriguez slipped back to 3rd in the league with 11 home runs. He remains the only player on our team who's on the major leaderboards. You can see one of the big free agents from last offseason who we never made an offer to, Garrett Crochet, looks poised to potentially win a 4th consecutive American League Cy Young Award. He's now pitching for our divisional rivals, the Houston Astros, 4-2 record with a 2.24 ERA already for them, leading the league in strikeouts. Juan Moreno, the former international free agent, back and healthy for Philadelphia, leading the National League with 16 home runs in these early stages of the season. And we just finished off an okay week, 4-3 record, went 2-1 against Detroit, split 4 games against Seattle, but run the record to 25-21, even though we're now 3.5 back, but Our good friend Andres Rodriguez, the American League Player of the Week, hit 360 with 5 homers and 10 ribbies. Rodriguez, as we hoped, having a even bigger season thus far in his second major league season. Already his 16 home runs has pushed the batting average up to close to 300 for us. So making pretty significant progress, which is great to see. And I know that Crow Hop, among others, has suggested putting Andres Rodriguez as our leadoff hitter to get him as many at-bats as possible. I am admittedly still old school, so I kind of love having the best hitter on my team in the 3-hole. And Sean Gamble, the rookie, actually has an on-base percentage of .371 that's pretty similar to what we've gotten from Rodriguez this year, although Rodriguez obviously much more of a power hitter and much more of a overall threat, but he's still getting on base at a decent clip for us. Only 4 out of 8 trying to steal bases, so he hasn't been particularly effective with the base running so far, but with the offense starting to play better, not looking to make any material changes right now. We'll check in again on where the team sits in the rankings offensively, pitching wise, on the base paths, and in the field in about 10 days when we get to the end of the month of May. And another solid, decent week in the books. Once again, a 4-3 record. Took 2 out of 3 against the Yankees, and then we split with the division rival Astros, who we're chasing, so that's not optimal. Got a couple games against Texas and then home against the Yankees to get to the end of the month. Still 3.5 behind in the division, but the Astros coming closer to us with those 2 wins in a row against them. You can see the leaderboard starting to get a bit more filled with some of our players. Wakabayashi hitting a brilliant .362 in his first major league season. He's been a huge addition, obviously. Andres Rodriguez second in homers, Tucker second in ribbies, Rodriguez second in OPS. Rodriguez and Wakabayashi tied for second in batter WAR. Michael King third in the league in ERA and tied for the league lead with 7 wins off to a 7-2 start. So a really nice season from him. King also ranks third in the American League in pitcher WAR. And as we start heading towards the middle point of the season with a 29-24 record, hopefully we can take at least 2 out of these 3 final games in the month of May, and we'll see where we sit as the calendar turns to June. And things went even better than hoped. Took 2 against Texas and then beat the Yankees, so that definitely helps us in terms of the standings here as we sit on June 1st. We've moved up to second place, just a game and a half behind the Rangers, won 5 in a row. Obviously, the leaderboard doesn't look all that different than it looked when we checked in just 3 games ago. But good to feel like we've kind of righted the ship a bit here in the month of May. Speaking of the month of May, our rookie shortstop, the 28-year-old Yoshihiko Wakabayashi, just named the AL Rookie of the Month, hit .433 with 42 hits, 20 ribbies, 1 run scored. So Wakabayashi off to a excellent start for us. .362 batting average, a ridiculous Ted Williams, Barry Bonds, Juan Soto-like .456 on-base percentage. Already has put up a 3 WAR for us through just the first 2 months of the season. Taking a look at him fielding, definitely been above average defensive shortstop in terms of his zone rating and defensive efficiency. So Swaney Wakabayashi doing everything that we could have hoped he would do, making his debut for us. We'll wait until our next episode before we do our regular mid-season review, but we'll at least check in on a couple of the other key additions here for those who are interested. Min Jae Kim hitting just .224. He has been a above average offensive player, but 7 home runs, 18 ribbies, and 143 at-bats is respectable, but not spectacular. He is taking advantage of that eye. He's drawn 26 walks, been 1.2 wins above replacement. So, although not spectacular, quite honestly, at $11 million a year, we're not paying him to be spectacular. We're paying him to be a good, solid major league catcher. And he looks like he's on his way to about a 3.5 WAR season. So, he would certainly qualify there. Taking a look at the batting splits, he's definitely been better against right-handers than left-handers, which we expected, but given the way his ratings look, would have expected that differential to perhaps be somewhat more significant than we have seen thus far, where he's been respectable against righties and mediocre against lefties. And the other two significant additions to the team this year, actually there's three. Anthony Scull I wasn't thinking of, but he is a rookie who is playing every day against righties for us and hitting .281 with a 103 WRC plus. So he has been more than competent at the major league level for us. Good to see a guy who's come up through our organization doing that. Emmanuel Rodriguez, definitely struggling. Left field has been a disaster for us through most of this playthrough. We've gone with platoons and we've often struggled to hit, almost always struggled defensively. We're hoping that Rodriguez would certainly fix the defensively and hopefully help offensively. Defensively, he's been okay in left field, pretty average-ish metrics when all is said and done, which is a little surprising given how good his ratings are for a left fielder. But the bat has been the real issue, hitting just a .186, only 2 home runs and 12 ribbies and 140 at-bats. Struck out 54 times. So Rodriguez definitely not providing us with the offense that we had hoped for our left fielders. Last, but hopefully not least, Sean Gamble, the rookie, still continues to perform pretty well, hitting .277, .362 on-base percentage, still only 4 stolen bases, has not been particularly effective there, but he's put up a 110 WRC plus for us as a 22-year-old. So the number 27 prospect in baseball, former number 2 overall pick, more than holding his own at the major league level. Jake Riley, and obviously we can see the pitching stats the way that we've got it sent up. Taj Bradley struggling the most with a 5.22 ERA, and honestly Schwellenbach with a 4.80 ERA, not what we're looking for. Schwellenbach dealing with a sinus infection right now, but that should not have a significant impact on him going forward. But Jake Riley continuing to pitch well since he got back from that injury. 4-1 record in 9 starts with a 2.68 earned run average. The rookie number 5 starter has put up a 1.4 WAR for us this year. Michael King, as we've talked about, has also been very effective as a starter for us. The bullpen statistics pretty middling overall. A couple of higher ERAs there, Klassen, although much of that, as we talked about earlier, came in his couple starts for us, much of the negativity. Cade Smith not quite as effective this year in that high-volume stopper role, unfortunately. But still can't really complain about where we are here on June 1st after a difficult early to middle part of April. Things seem to have straightened out a bit. The 32-24 record still a bit below Pythagorean expectations. First place in the wild card race, 18-10 record in the month of May, very good. We have improved to the 3rd best offense in the American League in terms of run scoring, and we're in the top handful of all offensive categories now, except for extra base hits where we're 7th. Middle of the pack in steals, still good in base running. Excellent defensive performance so far, 2nd in defensive efficiency, 1st in zone rating, tied for 3rd in the American League in runs allowed. So we've made progress offensively. We've made progress with the pitching staff since the last episode, generally in the top half of the league in every pitching category except for home runs allowed, where we rank 10th. So although, as we talked about, definitely some players who aren't performing quite up to expectations so far. As we sit here on June 1st, we're just a game and a half out in the division. in that first wild card spot, although to be fair, it's a very tight race and we're only half a game out of the third and final wild card spot. But Wakabayashi has been doing a great job for us. Andres Rodriguez following up his Rookie of the Year season with a strong sophomore year. And Gamble's been a nice addition among the rookies. Both Gamble and Riley likely to be in the mix for Rookie of the Year and perhaps some more prospect promotion incentives in the draft a year from now. But right now we're going to focus on this season. Any thoughts on what we should do going forward? Always appreciated. And next time around, we'll talk a bit more about the draft when we get into the draft combine, which is only 6 days away. And we'll also do our annual mid-season review of the entire roster when we get to the midway point of the season. So, solid, respectable start to the season for the Los Angeles Angels. Hopefully things only get better from here. And we'll find out whether or not that's the case in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.